Having liberated the hourglass and become keeper of time, my next task was to restart history. Not beholden to past events, I was free to craft a new era. It was with humility and restraint that I approached this blank canvas. After careful preparation, I began work, painting over the darkness. After eons passed, I sketched out the realms. After eons more, I brushed them in with life. In my new era, all beings will have the opportunity to find peace. Whether or not they do will be their responsibility. For my power only permits me to begin this endeavor. It is the duty of mortals to finish it.
Time. While some in the world may sit and argue that it does not exist and that it is only a concept of human creation, at Netherrealm Studios it appears to be the team's new favorite plot device. Hello and welcome back to I Suck at Video Games. My name is Anthony, and today we are morphing the content of this channel a little bit as I bring you a video I have been very excited to make for some time, and that is a full-length review and discussion of Mortal Kombat 1. I am a huge fan of the Mortal Kombat game series, and especially the lore of it. That is what always made me a fan of this game series over other fighting games in particular. I first started back in 2011 with Mortal Kombat 9, and I was hooked into the story almost immediately. Okay. That might be a slight lie. My first experience with the franchise was actually Mortal Kombat vs. DC. A decent game, sure, but not quite the true MK experience I soon discovered. To be clear and upfront before the review fully begins, I wish to say that I personally thoroughly enjoyed most of Mortal Kombat 1. There are some issues I wish to discuss throughout the video, and I'll bring those up, but other than that, I highly implore you to check out the game if you're a casual fan of the series or wish to jump into the legendary Mortal Kombat series for the first time. As you'll see, it's a good point to jump in. While it may shock some more than others, the newest addition to the Mortal Kombat series, Mortal Kombat 1, actually continues the story from the previous entry, Mortal Kombat 11/Mortal Kombat 11 DLC Aftermath. Oh, and also before we really dive deep into this, major spoiler warnings for MK11, Aftermath, and obviously the entirety of MK1. Well, to recap MK11, the Time Titan Kronika was defeated by Liu Kang, but not just any Liu Kang. The newly minted Fire Gong Liu Kang defeats the fuck out of Kronika, destroying her and claiming the Hourglass of Time. Sounds simple enough, right? The story of Mortal Kombat 11 would not be fully complete until its DLC MK Aftermath dropped and showed that, oops, when Liu Kang decimated Kronika and destroyed her crown, that caused time to become completely unstable. Liu Kang was forced to then listen to Shang Tsung of all people, who pleaded to them that he could stop the destruction of the world. Long story short, time is a circle as Shang Tsung uses the new and improved crown of Kronika to become the sole controller of time and defeat the heroes of Outworld and Earthrealm together. However, Liu Kang, being the newly tatted up fire god that he is, foresaw the betrayal of Shang, as did pretty much anybody with even a hint of MK knowledge. The two are then forced to duke it out one final time. One interesting aspect was the game gave you, the player, the choice of who you wish to see win the Hourglass. You could pick the still Kari Horiyuki Tagawa faced version, or the sick looking fire god in Liu Kang. All the Chads chose Liu Kang, of course, with the virgin contrarians picking Shang Tsung. Ultimately, the canonical ending was that Liu Kang won, becomes the sole keeper of time, and overtakes the Hourglass to start over history. Okay, so with the backstory for Aftermath finished, surely not any of these events will be backtracked in any sort of way whatsoever. Which actually brings us to Mortal Kombat 1. By all means, a new direction for the team over at Netherrealm Studios, as the game comes with a polished new look with many characters getting new designs, backstories, and even some being switched around in this new era of Mortal Kombat. Now, this can make more sense when you think about every era of Mortal Kombat essentially being split into 3 game eras. The most recent trilogy arc began by 2011's MK9 was mostly completed with MK11 and Aftermath. That is still mostly the case with MK1, as while it does stem canonically from MK11, the characters themselves are new and find themselves in a new but familiar setting, having no recollection of the events in previous games. After setting in motion the events of the world that would make up his new timeline, Liu Kang eventually decides that managing time is an extremely difficult job and says fuck that. Essentially, he leaves the Hourglass on cruise control and enlists the help of Giga Chad Garrus to be the guardian of the Hourglass. This is when, like Ron Burgundy in Anchorman 2, Liu Kang finds out that cruise control just regulates speed, it doesn't actually steer the vehicle, because somehow Kronika returns. The game begins with this new timeline where a young, fresh-faced Shang Tsung as he now sells mystical oils and elixirs that he claims can cure disease within those that are dying. To which, at first, it seems like he's getting away with until a man exposes the lies and the crowd promptly turns on him and beats him up. Afterwards, when Shang Tsung is licking his wounds outside his carriage, he is visited by an ominous presence in the rain, and to the player, we know this to be Kronika. I mean, the blue eyes and oddly robotic voice are a dead giveaway, but new timeline, Shang doesn't know who she is. Kronika is able to lure Shang Tsung to her cause by claiming to put the realms at his feet by saying his destiny to be nothing more than a snake oil salesman was preordained before he was ever born. This is something that certainly piques the interest of the young baby-faced Shang Tsung. Kronika, and we say that right now with quotation marks with our fingers, now imbues the man with the real magic he previously claimed to have to the patrons just before. Now, one thing I will say first is something that I really enjoyed about Mortal Kombat 1 just starting out new was the new ideas and liberties they took with some stable characters of the franchise. Lord Raiden is now just Raiden. Typical MK jobbers like Reptile and Baraka get new backstories, and especially for Reptile, a whole new look that is reminiscent of his early designs but also with some new flair, but we'll talk about those two men later on. At the start of the game, we are introduced to the usual suspects in a place called Fengjian. We are introduced to the no longer a Lord Raiden and Kung Lao. Both men are simple and humble cabbage farmers who train in martial arts. The two are going out for a bite to eat, and while they're eating at Madame Beau's, the restaurant is seemingly accosted by the Lin Kuei ninjas Smoke, Sub-Zero, and Scorpion. It is here where I'll talk about one of the more divisive character deviations within Mortal Kombat 1, that being the changes made to capital K classic MK characters in Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Now, for those who might not know, within MK lore, Sub-Zero has consistently been portrayed by two different ninjas within the core story. Two brothers, in fact, Bi-Han and Kuai Liang. Bi-Han was the first Sub-Zero, and in most iterations of Mortal Kombat, Bi-Han is a complete dick and is often with the bad guys. And for the longest time, he was said to be the man responsible for killing the family and clan of Scorpion, aka Hanzo Asashi. Anyways, Bi-Han is still Sub-Zero, but Kuai Liang this time takes up the mantle of Scorpion. I don't know, maybe at first I thought Liu Kang let Hanzo live a peaceful life or something, I don't know. That right there is one thing I saw MK fans with have issues with the most, arguably more than the cameo system, which, spoiler alert, I kind of like the cameo system and how it's implemented in the fights themselves. Story-wise, it doesn't make too much sense. Also, I think too many good characters such as Kano and Jax were relegated to being cameos only, which was a real knock against Mortal Kombat 1 for me personally. Back to the story, Raiden and crew defeat the ninjas asking for protection money, but it turns out they were being tested all this time by Liu Kang, and he reveals that the ninjas were indeed pulling their punches against Raiden and the Kungster. It is here that the boys are recruited to be Earthrealm warriors and trained to represent as its champion against Outworld in Mortal Kombat, where nobody has ever died or sustained permanent injury in this new timeline. Interesting. The story then cuts to MK legend Johnny Cage in a fun chapter where he is essentially cosplaying as Indiana Jones, and you're fighting out a whole scene in his upcoming movie. In this timeline, Johnny is back to being the A-list movie star and living in what looks to be Tony Stark's Malibu mansion. I can't be the only one who clocked that in the game. Anyways, that means no military, no special forces, and especially no Sonya Blade, also only a cameo character, which means no Cassie Cage either. I don't know, I guess Liu Kang didn't like her attitude or something, I don't know. Johnny's wife leaves him because he's broke and spends $30,000 on a drone and $3 million on some Japanese sword named Sento. Probably not a big deal, until it actually is a big deal because Yakuza Kenshi has arrived and is here to take Sento. The two fight and Cage beats the ocularly unimpaired Kenshi and ties him up waiting for the police. Something I actually liked about this version of Johnny Cage when we first meet him is that he's not just the dumb Hollywood guy that's way in over his head. He's competent enough to want to fight, but also the back and forth he and Kenshi share about the history of Sento and Tyra Clan shows that Johnny knows his shit, at least to an extent.
Sento, you some kind of hired gun? Or do you know Sento's history? I know it. It's my family blade. No. No way you're Tyra Clan. They've been dead for centuries. Not dead. Hiding. With Sento in my hands, I'll lead us out of the shadows. That's a great plan, stranger. Except for one thing. Sento's mine. And I won't give it up without a fight.
Instead of the police showing up, Liu Kang and his ninjas appear at the front door to come and recruit both of them to train to become Earthrealm warriors, and also a huge meme. Now we have our established group of protagonists. They train and fight in a mini tournament to see who will represent Earthrealm in Mortal Kombat. Raiden wins, and then, while I thought it was interesting that he was no longer a god and thus no longer had lightning powers, upon winning the status as champion, he is given an amulet, which just gives him the lightning powers anyways. Are we fucking serious? One thing I'll at least give the game credit for is making it impact the way Raiden played. At least his moveset expanded exponentially once given the amulet and you get the classic Raiden lightning moves. Then we finally get to Outworld, where we are greeted by more familiar yet different faces as the Mileena and Kitana, along with Tanya, greet the champions. They begin moving through this capital city of Sun Do, where we are introduced to Li Mei, who was last seen at MK10 but is now the head constable of Sun Do, where she is transporting prisoners infected with the disease known as Tarkat. Yep, that's right. Just being Tarkatan is now a disease and not just a race of people, technically. I don't know, I guess Liu Kang had a prejudice against Tarkatan people and thought of them to be a disease. People might be quick to realize that the heiress Mileena is not currently suffering from her normal toothy affliction, given that in typical MK timelines she is the clone of Kitana mixed with Tarkatan blood. Moving on, the tournament begins. Raiden starts off winning some fights over individuals like Li Mei, who they exposit as a formerly disgraced leader of the Royal Guard, the Umgadi, because she allowed the former King Jared to be killed.
Were it not for Jared's tradition, you would not be here.
He also fights Reiko, who appears to be taking up Reptile and Baraka's former mantle of being the bona fide MK jobber. Honestly, the moment he walked in and they gave him that big long introduction and he started busting out that combo, that kind of reminded me of like early Clone Wars animation fighting and not like late Clone Wars animation fighting. That's when I kind of knew that he's just going to get his ass kicked repeatedly throughout the game, isn't he? Raiden defeats both of them, and then the first day of Mortal Kombat is concluded with a feast. Johnny Cage starts to put the move on the 10,000-year-old Kitana, gonna need that skincare routine. As the story progresses, we see that Mileena is not totally unscathed from being a feral-fanged beast, as the game shows that Mileena definitely had a XXL quesarito because her stomach is feeling just a little bit queasy. Only a few individuals are aware of her condition, namely being Sindel the Empress and Tanya, head of the Umgadi and shown to be the love interest of Mileena. Also, Shao Kahn begins to make a drunk ass of himself like any good stepfather at the family gathering, and he is promptly kicked out after cursing out the Earthrealmers. I refer to him as Shao Kahn a lot, so that's just a heads up. This then transitions into an interesting scene between Sindel and General Shao that starts to put the story in motion. Shao believes Liu Kang wishes to conquer Outworld and control the people as foretold by a certain prophecy.
We must act on the sorcerer's prophecy. He warns that Liu Kang will conquer Outworld.
And his predictions are usually impeccable. But I've no proof of Liu Kang's ill intent. His interventions have kept Outworld at peace for centuries.
He herds us into compromises, shackles our independence. If we could meet our enemies in battle, we'll take—
You would consign us to endless war.
Better that than be Liu Kang's lapdog.
If I see evidence of the prophecy's accuracy, we will act. But only then, and only at my command. Did not your illustrious father teach you that war is the last resort, not the first?
He did, Your Majesty.
Do not forget that, General.
I found this to be a very interesting segment, as this version of Sindel is truly a babyface in this scenario. MK Aftermath kind of sort of teased her being good before they pulled out the rug and reveals she was always just a mad MILF who wanted to conquer the realms with her daddy Shao Kahn. But here, she is hashtag girl bossing this empire. The game also yada yadas a few interesting fights off screen, which I was not really happy about. Sindel mentions that Raiden defeated Motaro, who's in the game but cameo only. Kotal, not Kotal Khan yet, not in the game at all currently, and she Tifa, also not playable, but still cameo fighter. To be completely honest though, I was not a fan of it, only being a fan of Kotal Khan, honestly. Big fan of his design, wish he was in MK1, but we're holding out for next year. Raiden is also supposed to fight the Heiress, as is tradition, but Melina is currently away on Imperial matters, as said by Sindel, so Raiden must fight Kitana. The final fight of the tournament is General Shao. Raiden defeats him and formally wins the tournament, which in this timeline, as mentioned by many characters so far, is normally won by Earthrealm champions. Whereas in MK9, the group of champions were in dire need to win the tournament to stop 10 stray victories for Outworld, which would lead to a merging of the realms, not an issue in this timeline. Moving on, Liu Kang is then visited by Geras, a returning Titan from the previous game who was previously under the command of Kronika, is now Liu Kang's right-hand man and current defender of the Hourglass. This is about as close as I will get to having Kotal Khan in the game, as Geras is voiced by the incredibly talented Phil Lamar, which we're also going to take this time to acknowledge the sheer amount of voice talent that is in Mortal Kombat 1. Some names you might recognize include Ike Amadi, who voices General Shao. Returning from MK11, Amadi has also been known recently for his work as Commander Ibwe Akandi in Starfield, Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Miles Morales, and if his Shao Kahn voice sounds familiar, he also voiced Atrocitus in Injustice 2. Stephen Blum, I mean, this guy is a part of the voice acting Mount Rushmore, one of the most distinguishable voices, and yet he perfectly blends in as Baraka here in Mortal Kombat 1. Kaiji Tang, another voice actor with a litany of work, but who most of you might recognize as the voice of the hero himself, Ichiban Kasuga from Yakuza Like a Dragon. In this game, he voices Sub-Zero. Raiden in this game is voiced by the incredible Noshir Dalal, who is currently on one hell of a run of great roles, as you may recognize his voice as Charles Smith in Red Dead Redemption 2, as well as your trustworthy best bro Bode Akuna in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Oh yeah, and I can't talk about voice acting without addressing the elephant-sized dragon lady in the room. Nitara in MK1 is voiced by none other than Megan Fox, a role that was sure to be done to generate more buzz for the games, as Megan Fox is surprisingly popular in the current social media zeitgeist for some reason. Unfortunately, she is not very good as Nitara in this game. That has probably been seen all over the internet. She sounds bored and somehow confused on what she's reading. It also kind of felt like it was just done in one, maybe two takes. I'll just let these clips do the talking.
Serena's right. Because of Quan Chi's magic, my realm's people are no longer poisoned by sunlight. We've finally escaped the shadows. That blade's enchanted. We can't help what we are. That we feed on blood doesn't make us evil.
As a boy, I heard tales of battles against your kind. I have fought them tall ones.
All Earthrealmers will soon know of Eternus. My realm starves, and it's coming here to feed.
Anyways, voice acting tangent complete. Geras returns to visit Liu Kang and brings something to his attention, as there is an error within the timeline. Geras reports Liu Kang what we saw in the opening. Shang Tsung is going down a familiar path of power and destruction instead of the meaningless life Liu intended to create. How could this be? Shang has also already found himself embedded within the court of Sindel, though we are not aware to what extent just yet. Liu Kang trusts Kenshi, Kungster, Johnny Cage with tracking down Liu Kang within Outworld outside the city limits of Sun Do, where they are not to be discovered. While searching for Liu Kang, we discover what Tarkat is within this timeline, as the outer limits are acting as a quarantine colony of sorts for people affected with the Tarkat disease.
Don't you know what we are?
No, we don't.
We are victims of Tarkat. The disease is not easily gotten, but you can't risk more close exposure. It disfigures, then debilitates. In time, it will turn us all into bloodthirsty monsters. Death is our only release.
Thus, we are introduced to our version of Baraka, who is acting like a leader for the colony of sorts, as he still maintains some sentience, as he mentions, as Tarkat worsens. The talisman that Kenshi had helped to track Shang Tsung was broke in a fight, so Baraka leads JC and the boys to Shang Tsung's lab. Shang Tsung has officially weaseled his way into the story, as he is acting as some form of healer and is trying to find a cure for Melina's Tarkat with extracted marrow from people with the Tarkat. While he's explaining to Rain, they are attacked by Kenshi and the crew. Thinking she was being infected by Shang Tsung, she does not receive her dose and has Tarkat episode of sorts. Melina then turns into the toothy bitch we all know and love, and she begins to fuck shit up. Also, you might have noticed so far in the story, especially as during this chapter you're playing as Kenshi, who is looking a little different than he normally does. He seems a little too out of the ordinary compared to, say, other versions of Kenshi. Aha! I figured it out. He still has his eyesight in both of his eyes. How about we fix that? Much better. Kenshi gets brutally stabbed, Kitana, Goro, and General Shao enter the lab after Melina is administered her medicine. Shang Tsung is able to use his silver tongue to portray the Earthrealmers as the enemy, and Shao strongly believes to be part of the prophecy and happily jails them in the bottom of the lab. Whoa, what's Quan Chi doing in the impact zone? After Kitana takes Melina away to be looked after, we have the three pillars of the Deadly Alliance standing together yet again in the new timeline. They appear to all be aware of the fact that Quan Chi's prophecy is kinda bullshit. I mean, later on we'll find out that Quan Chi was also visited by Kronika, who Shang Tsung and Quan Chi refer to as their benefactor, seemingly out of the knowledge of General Shao. In this timeline, Quan Chi is relegated to living in the mines, so both have some knowledge of what they believe is the future, while General Shao just wants chaos, destruction, and war with Earthrealm, so the usual motivations for him. Once General Shao leaves the room, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi both reveal a little bit more context to the real plot at hand, and that they need Kronika to have two realms at war before she can properly usurp control of the timeline and have Shang Tsung and Quan Chi by her side when she ascends to the Hourglass. We then cut to the secret lair of Shang Tsung, his true lab, although currently it's lacking a very eloquent title that would describe what it looks like. I can't think of anything. Johnny Cage, any ideas?
Reminds me of this cheap-ass film I did in my early days. The Flesh Pits. God, that was trash.
Then we are introduced to probably my favorite character within the story in terms of redesign and backstory. The jailer of the Flesh Pits is none other than my boy Syzoth, more commonly known as Reptile. Now Reptile is by far not a new character to MK because he's technically been around since the original Mortal Kombat game. In this new timeline, he is back to having a humanoid form of sorts. In MK9, he had a humanoid form but was very much a reptilian bad guy. Here, he blends both his original human form in the OG Mortal Kombat back when he was just a green ninja, as well as the reptilian look akin to how he looked in, say, the recent Mortal Kombat movie. Speaking of which, I think it is kind of understated how much of an influence the movie had on this game in terms of character selection. I fully believe they brought in the characters of Reiko, who has not been playable in the game since Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and Natara, who has not been playable since Deadly Alliance. They brought them into the game because they would be somewhat more memorable or recent to newer fans of the series, perhaps those who got introduced through the Mortal Kombat film. However, like in the movie, those two are nothing but fodder to just get the shit beat out of them here and there. Neither add any depth beyond maybe Reiko's introduction scene of one of the earlier chapters. Also, like in the recent MK film, Reptile is actually a far more reptilian person in his true form. He is more or less a giant lizard who supposedly has a birth defect that allows him to transform into a human. He is actually cast out from his society because of this. Then Shang Tsung captured him and his family, forced Reptile to teach him how to do the shapeshifting, then kept his family hostage. I really appreciate the fact that they made Reptile and Baraka more empathetic characters and gave them more depth to make them likable as well. Once Baraka defeats Reptile, he wishes for Baraka to finish the job, for maybe Shang Tsung will spare his family should he die on the job, right? I mean, Shang Tsung must have seemed like a nice type of guy to do something like that, right?
Yeah, I got a bad feeling about this.
I bid you all farewell. Cheer up, Syzoth. I'm reuniting you with your family.
They're dead? You killed them?
Many moons ago. I do hate loose ends.
The crew, now adding Reptile to the group, heads out for Sun Do, where they eventually find a new-ish character in Ashra. In my opinion, another solid addition to the character roster with a strong moveset and a great backstory. Within the story, to my knowledge, this is the first time she has been a playable character. First time she has been in a game since Mortal Kombat Armageddon as well. 3D era fans are eating in Mortal Kombat 1. Ashura is a former demon of the underworld and wishes to cleanse her soul, one demon at a time. Ashura is the first character outside of Liu Kang and Geras to realize that Quan Chi and Shang Tsung have a mysterious benefactor that turned them into the powerful men they are today. Ashura wishes to eliminate Quan Chi and has tracked him down to the Forest of Life, where he is building something that can harness the power of souls. In this timeline, we don't have a name for that just yet. Let's go with Soul Stealer. In this moment, this also gave me another favorite story moment, as in this scene, Johnny tries to tell the recently blinded Kenshi to stay behind from the fight. In this moment, we begin to see the hero in Johnny Cage that Liu Kang alluded to earlier. He bestows the ancient Tyra Blade Sento into the hands of Kenshi after Kenshi saved Johnny's eyes from being side earlier. That's a hard sentence to say. Like with Raiden, the moveset and gameplay of Kenshi change from this point on, though to find that out you'd have to pick Kenshi in the end, but we'll talk about that later. A fight breaks out, Natara delivers another awkward line, Quan Chi activates his Soul Stealer, although the name kinda sucks. Geez. Johnny Cage, do you have a better idea? Here we get the recreation of Ermac, a powerful being formed with 1,000 souls, although it's a meh moment for me. Ermac has not felt like a big deal since he did some major damage to Jax and MK9. Ermac begins to clean house, and Kenshi tries to save the day. Ermac simply pushes him away, but oh no, Kenshi is just a regular blind, not Hollywood blind, so he begins the Velma Dinkley impersonation as he stumbles around looking aimlessly for Sento. However, Sento calls to him, as Sento is supposed to be imbued with the souls of his ancestors of the Tyra clan. Now Kenshi can see through the spirits and he is back, baby. Fuck yeah. Huge Kenshi fan. Anyways, Ermac gets shit-canned and he seems to be suffering from a little bit of multiple personality disorder as he lets out a scream saying he will find Sindel. Interesting. Anyways, Ashura destroys the Soul Stealer, and the souls come barreling out and they begin to attack Quan Chi like it's the Lord of the Rings. One of the spirits attacks them and I guess gives him the penance stare or something and steals a part of Quan Chi's soul and turns him into the more familiar skin tone that we see.
Well, clearly I underpaid for that. Did you know what it could do?
The legends never mentioned mystical powers. The souls of my ancestors live within it. They intend to guide me.
Just don't forget who gave it to you, Takahashi.
I won't, Cage. Now, let's get him to Earthrealm.
I know home's here for you, Baraka. Let's size off, Ashura. You can come with if you want. I'm sure Liu Kang will welcome you.
I've never had a home. That would be wonderful.
We then cut to Shang Tsung, where he is at his new home, base of operations, where he is forming a new army of sorts with his allies, where he is visited by his benefactor, Kronika. The group of good guys are attempting to navigate through the city, but have to be sneaky, as thanks for General Shao, they are now fugitives, but they have the cover of a large festival going on. The group is also attempting to carry Quan Chi in a Weekend at Bernie's style. The group tries to escape, but they are eventually caught by Shao and Goro, and Quan Chi happens to wake up at this time as well. And Johnny and the Kungster take the simple solution of knocking him the fuck out again. But it does not work and they have to fight, which gives me another incredible line from Johnny Cage. God, Andrew Bowden does such a great job with this role.
If this was one of my movies, we'd get saved by a plucky comic sidekick.
If we die today, we die together.
Not comic, but definitely plucky.
A huge Donnybrook ensues between the two sides. They fight it out, with the good guys escaping back to Liu Kang, where he is informed of Quan Chi's involvement. We then cut to him and Geras having a conversation, questioning the reports of Kenshi and Johnny. Geras has discovered that somebody has indeed interfered with the timeline that Liu Kang has set in motion. They reveal the moments Kronika has met with both Shang Tsung and Quan Chi in this weird sand projector table. They state it cannot be Kronika as she was murked in the end of the previous game, and Titans cannot be revived, so they say. So it had to be someone who survived the previous timeline. Interesting. I wonder who that could be, particularly anybody with an ability to shapeshift. I don't know. Now the next chapter, we switch focus heavily as now we are playing as the Lin Kuei ninjas. First as Sub-Zero. The trio of ninjas have a lot of exposition within their dialogue.
Father would advise us to wait without protest.
But now he is gone, and I am Grand Master.
His teachings did not pass with him. They should still guide us.
Guide us, yes. Shackle us, no.
We can't abandon tradition.
Mind your place, Tomas. Father may have taken you in, made you one of us. But your blood will never be Lin Kuei.
Smoke is an orphan that was brought in by the headmaster, but because of that, he is not respected by Sub-Zero. Like I said before, Bi-Han is a complete dick, and that tracks in this game as almost everything out of his mouth in this chapter is belittling his brother Scorpion, or complaining about working under Liu Kang and wishing to bring the Lin Kuei to glory under his command. Such a dick. They fight Natara and Ermac, and Sub-Zero has a legit fight boner going on after finally being back in combat.
Good. After our years of idleness, it pleases me to again face combat.
I will be pleased when we complete our mission.
I will say though, they really nail Bi-Han, and Kaiji Tang delivers a fantastic performance with that grovelly, angry voice every time he fucking opens his mouth. The brothers infiltrate the fortress interior to attack Quan Chi and Shang Tsung, and some fights ensue. As is tradition, Sub-Zero looks like he wants to behead Shang Tsung before a wild General Shao appears with some guards to capture Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
Perhaps now you wish to entertain my offer. I know that you wish to break free of Liu Kang's control, to gain your clan unrivaled power. I offer the means to do both.
Ignore him, brother. He promises only corruption.
Grandmaster, I am sure you're asking yourself, can I afford to trust a man I have never met? But the true question you must ask is, can I afford not to?
From there, Shang Tsung does what Shang Tsung does, and he corrupts Bi-Han, which I'm sure most MK fans saw coming at some point in this game. I say attempts, but we all know it's going to succeed. While being transported through the fortress, they discover the true purpose of the Soul Stealers, as they will be used to give the souls to undead soldiers of the Dragon Army of a former Chinese emperor. Sub-Zero decides that he has heard enough and selects switch teams in the menu to join Shang Tsung and his team. He also admits to his brother Kuai Liang that he let their father die, which was a bone of contention between the two throughout the game and this chapter. Thus, Scorpion breaks out, and now the player gets to be Kuai Liang and Scorpion. He fights his way out, featuring a couple of neat shots. I will say the game, and especially the cutscenes, look absolutely amazing. Netherrealm's graphics have been improving and improving over time every game, and they're starting to really look incredible. Scorpion is at least fun to play with, and after beating the shit out of some Saidans and Dairu and Darius, you're at least the one that completes Dairu's transition into Havoc by shoving his face into molten lava or molten gold. Either way, I don't know how he's alive. Scorpion and Sub-Zero then have a final showdown, and Kuai Liang gets his signature eye scar before Scorpion is able to defeat him.
Kuai Liang! Stay back! This is my fight.
End this, brother. Embrace the future.
I want no part of it! You pervert all that it means to be Lin Kuei!
Scorpion and Smoke detain a knocked out Sub-Zero. We bring it back to Liu Kang, where he's visited by Garrus one more time to alert him to the fact that the very time crystals that make up the mysterious benefactor of this Kronika are not from this timeline that Liu Kang created. How could that be? Liu Kang had created a single timeline and felt like he ended any possibility of there being other timelines, but we will come to find out that maybe Liu Kang should have not lost his role as timekeeper, or should have not relinquished it. Kind of a dumb decision. Liu Kang wants to speak with Sindel and is forced to combat with Li Mei, voiced by the magnificent Kelly Hu. Liu Kang wishes to express the true intentions of individuals like General Shao, Shang Tsung, and how he got involved with Sindel. Liu Kang accompanies Li Mei as he explains why Shao and Shang Tsung have joined forces before they are stopped by the undefeated and undisputed Reiko and Motaro.
Return Liu Kang to the portal gate, Li Mei. He isn't welcome in Outworld.
I won't support the General, Reiko. nor his plot to usurp the throne.
Then you won't live to see the new regime.
Motaro just fucking rips off some dude's arms and Reiko brutalizes some constables, but at least he gets to look a little bit cool before he gets stomped out by Li Mei. They breeze past the Dora Milaje, the Umgadi, and are able to get an audience with Empress Sindel, who also looks incredible in this game. All is well until Tanya attempts to strangle Li Mei before multiple fights ensue. Melina attempts to intervene, but she falls victim to her Tarkat once more, this time carrying a little more impact due to it happening in front of Li Mei, who didn't know about the whole Tarkat thing. It was kind of kept away from her the whole game. The fight ends and Liu Kang is able to spill the beans of the whole plot being committed by General Shao, Shang Tsung, and Quan Chi.
If what you see there does not convince you, I will surrender Earthrealm without a fight.
How could I have so misjudged them? For Shang Tsung to indulge in such depravity, for General Shao to condone it, they are not the men I thought them.
Liu Kang also explains his role as a Titan and Timekeeper to Sindel and the princesses, introduces them to Geras in the Hourglass. They reveal that Liu Kang has unified all timelines into one and essentially restarted history. They exposit who Kronika is and showcase what happened in the last timeline with gameplay from MK11 Aftermath, which I personally thought was kind of neat. Also showing our Sindel how bad she is in other timelines, also the fact that she's more white in that one. Liu Kang reiterates his strong point from his first conversation with Geras, where he states that he relinquished his powers because being the Keeper of Time drove Kronika mad and he did not want to end up like that, so he decided to let time run its course, with Geras just protecting the Hourglass. General Shao arrives and threatens the heroes with the Amulet of Shinnok, which should not work with Liu Kang's timeline, but this Amulet of Shinnok is supposedly from the other timeline. General Shao then uses this Amulet of Shinnok to basically consume some of the heroes such as Tanya, Melina, and Kitana, and then some more combat occurs.
So General Shao casts his lot with Outworld's enemies against me. He's a fool.
Is over, Sindel.
I remember the weak, sickly boy you were. How your father fought to push you past your infirmities. Now you repay him by spitting on his ideals? Your revolt shreds every value he held dear. You are relieved, General.
The amulet, Your Majesty. I hate to disrupt, but we must act quickly to save Earthrealm.
Chapter 12 shows our heroes preparing yet another infiltration of Shang Tsung's fortress. They absolutely shred a few of no-name soldiers and then launch a full frontal assault. Melina and her love Tanya are forced to fight Ermac. Ermac is slowly weakening every time he fights throughout the story, and after this fight, his face fully morphs and shifts into King Jared. Yeah, okay. The soul of Jared has managed to take control of Ermac after the spell that binded all the souls together. It was broken after too much fighting and too much of getting his ass kicked. Again, he has really not really felt like a threat since MK9.
Now, I am in control.
Father!
Jared?
Yes, Sindel. It's me.
How I've missed you.
Greetings, Jared.
Liu Kang.
Now we have a new ally amongst our group of heroes, and then we cut to Shang Tsung and his dragon army training, which is kind of funny to me since they're undead soldiers. I don't understand the need to train if they showed the same combo as soon as they were revived after centuries of being undead.
Princess Melina.
I bring news from Outworld. Sindel is deposed. General Shao now rules.
And yet you are still free.
To succeed, the General needed help on the inside. I provided it.
The heir to the throne gives it up willingly.
It is a burden I've never wanted. The realm is better left in General... Emperor Shao's hands.
A most mature perspective. Outworld benefits from your wisdom.
Yes, Shang Tsung, it does. But not in the manner that you expect.
Shang Tsung is then defeated by Melina during a big kerfuffle, and the crown is knocked off his head, and he laments that the fight is over, but the battle is not over until Liu Kang apprehends the benefactor. But wait, the crown is moving and shaking, and what's that? Do I hear the music of the benefactor coming? It's...
The devil. Liu Kang. Meet Damashi.
Damashi?
You are the victim of deception, sorcerer.
Nope, it's a different Shang Tsung portraying to be another Shang Tsung. Who could have saw that coming? Time is a circle after all, as I said before, and turns out that Shang Tsung all along was pretending to be the one we know to be Kronika, but instead was using the alias Damashi. Now, MK veterans might have had a slight heart attack hearing the word Damashi when the last time that name was mentioned in an MK game, they were the essence of Onaga. That's right, one of the other big baddies in MK lore, and I personally thought for a split second they were actually going to bring him back, but no, instead it's Shang Tsung, but specifically the one from the alternate ending of the MK11 Aftermath DLC, where again the game gave you, the player, the choice between who could get control of the hourglass, Shang Tsung or Liu Kang. So Damashi here is the other half of that equation. He is the Shang Tsung that would either win or lose depending on what the player chose. In his timeline, he won the fight. He became this all-powerful being. He absorbed the power of Fire God Liu Kang and Kronika to become the sole keeper of time and, like I said, one of the most powerful beings in the universe. According to him, their fight was so epic that it was so powerful it ripped the fabric of space and time and created two timelines when Liu Kang had thought there was only the one that he created. Seconds after he finally drops the ruse and then explains why he had to elevate Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. He reveals them to be pawns, not partners. Honestly, all around, it's a great performance by voice actor Alan Lee, who did a wonderful performance voicing Shang Tsung. I thought it'd be tough for him to step into the shoes, considering that the previous game had the original Shang Tsung and Kari Haruki Tagawa, so I still feel like he did a wonderful performance, and his tone and voice just gave off this really smarmy, slimy kind of antagonist, and he did a really good job.
I took this form and infiltrated your timeline. I elevated these wretches, giving them great power. Together, they sowed discord among the realms and assembled for me the Dragon Army. I led them to believe they were aiding my conquest of Earthrealm and Outworld. But my intent is to exterminate all life in this timeline and then merge it into my own.
You promised us realms. Now you leave us to slaughter? You were pawns, not partners. Your purpose served. You will be sacrificed.
We served you loyally, built you the Dragon Crown.
This is a toy.
So the next 2 chapters become a very interesting kind of unwitting alliance between our normal heroes and Quan Chi and Shang Tsung as well. In the chaos and fighting, Sindel is fatally wounded as she slowly passes on, saying goodbye to Melina and stating her title of Empress to be passed on to her. Sindel then passes away in the arms of her daughter Melina, and from there her soul is then absorbed into Jermak. That's right, we're calling him Jermak, and then she is now forever blinded with her true love, King Jared. So, the allied version of Shang Tsung gets the idea to use our hourglass to go and find other friendly timelines and recruit heroes and titans to fight for our cause. But Garrus does not have the power strong enough to do this, as he is not the true keeper of time and is merely only the guardian. Luckily, Garrus stored the essence of Liu Kang's former power in his Jaguar piece that was being seen held earlier by Garrus. The main problem with this plan is, should Liu Kang grab his power and change back to the Timekeeper, this process may be irreversible. Next chapter allows you to play as Shang Tsung, who's honestly pretty fun to play as. He's got a good moveset, pretty good flow, as the heroes plan to destroy portal gateways that will be used by the alternate Shang Tsung and his men to bring in their army from across the realms. The good guys are able to destroy the portals. They also fight this alternate version of Shao Kahn. Looks a lot like the guy from Dragon Age Origins cinematic trailer. You guys might know what I'm talking about from like ages ago. Rest in peace, E3. Reiko continues getting no respect in this game, as his alternate form is brutally stabbed to death by Shang Tsung before stealing the damn soul of General Shao. He's probably going right off the deep end about now. So Liu Kang has officially restored his power and begins his search for other timelines, and this brings in a new version of Kitana. This Kitana is a titan as well. Not a god, but a keeper of time within her own timeline.
In mine, I became Time's keeper. In yours, it was you. In others, it could be Jade, Sindel, even Kano. The possibilities are endless.
If many timelines sprung from one, and we were both part of it, then you are my Liu Kang.
The same one who battled you in Shang Tsung's courtyard, who fought at your side at the Colosseum, who beamed with pride when you became Outworld's Khan.
Then we get this incredibly passionate kiss between Kitana and Liu Kang, which the graphics with the sunlight hitting them is honestly just incredible, if not a little bit uncomfortable to stare at for so long.
Always to conspire against us, to deny us life's simple pleasure.
Alternate Shang Tsung arrives, and he announces that instead he's just going to destroy this hourglass and destroy this timeline and everyone within it, as now by learning of other timelines there is much more to conquer. I will admit, looking at all the different variants of the characters is quite a treat, and you can tell NetherRealm was having some fun with them as well. This is much obvious during the final battle. People fight while Shang Tsung tries to destroy the hourglass while Garrus attempts to repair it. The good guys band together to reinforce the hourglass and help Garrus repair it and overpower alternate Shang Tsung, and he is forced to retreat.
This isn't over, Liu Kang.
Thank you, everyone, for your aid. This battle was won together.
Shang Tsung is gone, but he's not defeated. He will be back to renew his campaign.
Not only against this timeline, but against all timelines.
Our choice is clear. We must take the fight to him. Destroy any power he has to make war against us.
Thus, here we are. After hours of gameplay and nearly an hour of me talking, we have finally hit the final chapter of Mortal Kombat 1, a game that has been quite the trip, and a story I have enjoyed despite my nitpicks and criticisms of gameplay and questionable voice acting. In the final chapter, it is an Avengers Endgame style battle between the variants and titans of other timelines up against the alternates from the evil timelines that wish to conquer others. Let's talk about this for just a small second. Before the battle begins, the game lets you, the player, decide what character you wish to end the game with. Me personally, I picked Kenshi, as he had quite an integral part of the Fellowship of Heroes in the game that we saw throughout the chapters, and he had some fun growth as a character throughout the game with an established backstory and motivations to renew the glory of Tyra Clan and reclaiming Sento, most importantly, so I chose him. Comment down below what characters you decide to play as for the final chapter. I'm pretty interested to find out. The army of good guys confronts Shang Tsung, and thinking he is alone, he reveals a portal with his own army of evildoers and alternates as mentioned before, including Jax for some weird reason. Anyway, all hell breaks loose as the alternates begin to battle and the people are getting fucked up. Also, I did a second playthrough of the final chapter as Baraka to see if anything changes for characters. Within some of the pre-rendered cutscenes, there will always be some of the same variants we see for specific points. You'll see Agora with hammers. You'll see the Johnny and Janet Cage alongside Ninja Mime. Another scene that will always happen will also feature a Sonya Kano combination, which is funny and kind of odd to see considering both characters are technically in the game but aren't playable and are just cameo characters. Anyways, also the Special Forces kids are back. They're back for about like 30 seconds with, you know, Cassie Cage, Jackie Briggs, Takeda, Kung Jin, and they're dead in about the time it took me to say that sentence. Yeah, they all get diced up. Eventually, whichever character you have chosen meets up with Liu Kang towards the top, and you have a final confrontation with Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. You defeat them. MK1 does not really have that final boss fight feeling like the previous few games. That is the only difficult thing about it is that you do not get a cameo fighter. Not really a big deal. You're at 700 health instead of 1000, which is what Shang Tsung has. So it just looks like it does a lot of damage to you when in reality you just have less health. Other than that, on both hard and medium difficulties, it's not really a challenge, unlike that bitch Chronica in MK11, which a lot of people had difficulty with, me included. Eventually, the evil is vanquished, but the world begins to crumble since the Titan Shang Tsung is now gone, so Liu Kang must return you, the player, back to the main timeline.
Thank you for your aid, Kenji. May we one day meet again.
We then cut back to Madame Bo's, where the gang is enjoying what is surely a succulent Chinese meal. Johnny Cage looks to be ready to begin filming his new movie based on the group defeating Shang Tsung. Johnny wishes to move past his own stardom and now decides to sit behind the camera while writing the movie and including cameos for his friends. Unfortunately, nobody can be there. However, Liu Kang must leave and return to his post as the timeline is secure for now and the Deadly Alliance has been jailed and ended, but a new threat of the Lin Kuei lingers. But luckily, in this rewrite of history, the Shirai Ryu have risen in the ashes of the Lin Kuei under Kuai Liang, which is sure to be touched upon in a sequel or DLC, yet still no Hanzo Hasashi.
All right, gentlemen. If you're finished, there's only one thing left to do. Which one of you gets the bad news?
Not me. I'm still 3 mil in the hole on Sento. How, thick's your wallet, Takahashi?
Thick enough. But seems to me our hosts are on the hook. They did invite us.
You think we have money?
The Shaolin live modestly. Easy, Kumo. They're teasing.
Don't worry, Father. I've got this covered. Besides, my business manager tells me I can write this whole thing off.
The realms are in safe hands.
Look at him, clinging to life. Even now he struggles.
Everyone who fought today did so fiercely.
Had I not been here for it, I would have thought it impossible. Warriors from across timelines, clashing in combat. The blood, the death, the chaos.
Yes, Lord Havoc. It's unfortunate it all ended so fast. The next time, it won't.
And that's it. That is Mortal Kombat 1. Overall, a rather enjoyable experience, I would personally say. The game does certainly lack a few aspects from other core MK games that some may wish they have kept. I can personally appreciate the chances they took on trying something new while also keeping things very similar. That is why I chose the title of this video to be so similar yet so different. If you're a longtime MK fan, you can pick up on some things here and there, and some surprises may not come to shock you too much. However, with that being said, the direction NetherRealm decided to take with this restart of history has me very intrigued for the sequels to come. I really like what they did with some characters such as Reptile, Baraka, and Kenshi, and appreciate them adding new twists to the old relationships. Most people did not like the switch of Kuai Liang to Scorpion and seemingly erasing the character of Hanzo Asashi, but it truly did add an interesting layer to the age-old rivalry between the two characters of Sub-Zero and Scorpion have had. Now the rivalry is more personal on a familial level, very similar to what it was before, but different as now they are the same family, but are splintering off into different paths that echo the choices of past versions. Still no necessarily version for Noob Saibot to come through. Considering that they have kind of retconned the idea that Sub-Zero murdered the family and clan of Scorpion and made it so that Quan Chi framed Sub-Zero to gain the services of Hanzo Asashi, I feel like bringing it back to family made it better in my opinion. All things considered, I would like to reiterate that if you consider yourself an MK fan, I suggest picking up this game at your earliest convenience. Whether that's on sale or at full price is entirely up to you. I understand some people may not groove with the new direction of the series and its characters, but it shows that even a series that has had such little concern for continuity like Mortal Kombat needs to evolve and try new things. And I think with this new generation of really large over-reliance on games as a service and very impartial story writing and just adding in content by just making it up as you go along, I think I can really appreciate them wanting to start fresh and kind of keep things on the same track. It looks like we're going to be going with this kind of new timeline, a new storyline for just a little bit longer, so I'm very much looking forward to the future additions in this new timeline created by Fire God Liu Kang, keeper of the timeline. Therefore, I would happily give Mortal Kombat an 8.2 out of 10. It is an enjoyable experience that tries new things while retaining familiar aspects with fun gameplay that can require some mastery, especially if you wish to play online. With my only serious knocks being the characters chosen for cameo only and the lack of inclusion for other characters in the story mode. Tower mode is the usual status. It's enjoyable to grind for those character endings. Instead of the crypt, we have invasions, which I'll be honest, I have not touched it much, but it provides a sort of live service aspect to the game as the invasions will always shift. Not my cup of tea personally, so I haven't really tried it out too much. So I welcome you to the end of the video, and I thank you for watching this massive undertaking, as it is only my first attempt to make a long form video essay on a video game before taking the content in a more serious direction on the channel going forward. So I'm excited to continue making these. You're going to see a couple more and some more games that I'm passionate about. Not always going to be very topical games or very current, but just games I like to talk about. So please do not forget to subscribe to I Suck at Video Games as I continue to release content such as these video essays, and then soon we'll be getting some clip compilations back on the channel as I really enjoy making those. And we'll be getting back into the swing of producing content on a semi-regular basis. So my name is Anthony, and man, I suck at video games. Have yourself a great day.